Chapter 2166. Lu Ming guessed that the passageway in Nine Dragons City must lead to a place with extremely dense origin qi. Only when the passageway led to such a place would the origin qi converge, and the laws of heaven and earth would it create such a scene. Was it Yuanlu or the heavenly realm? Lu Ming's imagination ran wild. However, what the old man and the middle-aged man said next caused Lu Ming's expression to change. Because they said that a few years ago, some supreme experts had come from Yuanlu. They were called martial emperors, and they had occupied Divine Wilderness Continent. Now Divine Wilderness Continent was under the control of these experts from Yuanlu. As for Divine Ruins Continent, because it was far from Divine Wilderness Continent, the origin qi was not as dense, and there were not many sacred herbs and spiritual fruits that had recovered. Therefore, the experts from Yuanlu did not extend their hands here. Expert from Yuanlu martial emperors? Could it be Sakura? Lu Ming's expression changed, and he immediately thought of Sakura. Sakura was not in Yuanlu. It was very likely that he had heard some news and came to Divine Wilderness Continent. If that was the case, wouldn't Dragon Alliance be controlled by Sakura? Then, wouldn't his parents, Xiao Wan and the others fall into Sakura's hands? At that moment, Lu Ming could not remain calm. He wanted to immediately return to Divine Wilderness Continent. Following that, Lu Ming asked a few more questions before leaving with Qiuyu and flying in the direction of Divine Wilderness Continent. The two of them were extremely fast. Soon, they flew out of Divine Ruins Continent and into the boundless sea. Along the way, Lu Ming discovered that the world was different. The origin qi was incomparably dense, and there were spiritual mountains and spiritual herbs everywhere. If Divine Ruins Continent was like this, then what would Divine Wilderness Continent be like? It must be even more shocking. Splash! In the sea beasts surged and emitted a shocking aura. Ninth layer martial royal realm. Lu Ming discovered a shark that was extremely ferocious and had a cultivation of the ninth layer martial royal realm. The origin qi in the sea was also incomparably dense, causing the cultivation of the sea beasts in the sea to skyrocket. The two of them were extremely fast, and they were constantly approaching Divine Wilderness Continent. The closer they were to Divine Wilderness Continent, the denser the origin qi became, and the space became more stable. This gave Lu Ming the illusion that he had returned to Yuanlu. Not long after, the two returned to the Divine Wilderness and disembarked from Northern Plains. What a rich yuan qi! Lu Ming and Autumn Moon were shocked. The origin qi in the Northern Plains was extremely dense. The two of them felt that they were close to the ancient Moon Holy Land. One had to know that the ancient Moon Holy Land was one of the 9 great holy lands of the Yuan Mountain Land. It was known as a holy land, so one could imagine the cultivation environment. However, the Divine Wilderness Continent was very close to the ancient Moon Holy Land. The two of them used the divine breath technique to alter their appearances and auras. It was possible that Sakura was in the Divine Wilderness Continent, and there were other members of the Emperor family. Lu Ming did not want to alert them. Acting in secret was the best plan. Lu Ming turned into a dark-skinned young man, and Autumn Moon turned into an ordinary-looking woman. The two of them slowed down and walked through the air, observing the changes in various places. On the ground, ancient trees towered into the sky. On many mountain peaks, spiritual medicines were everywhere. There were even sacred medicines growing. Many demonic beasts roamed the mountains and forests, and their cultivations were very powerful. With a casual glance, they discovered that there were many spiritual sea realm, spiritual embryo realm, and spiritual god realm demonic beasts. They were in groups. There were also many martial emperor realm demonic beasts. These demonic beasts fed on spiritual medicines, and their cultivation skyrocketed. Even Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Then, the two of them flew and looked for big cities to gather information. Soon, they came to a big city and found out more detailed information. This land began to change 8 or 9 years ago. As the ruler of the Divine Wilderness Continent, the Dragon League seized the opportunity to obtain a large amount of resources. The number of experts in the Dragon League skyrocketed, and the experts became stronger. However, a few years ago, experts from the Yuanlu came. Facing the experts from the Yuanlu, The Dragon League could not resist at all. They were suppressed and occupied. There was more than one group of experts from the Yuanlu. There were several groups that occupied various territories in the Divine Wilderness Continent. Currently, the Divine Wilderness Continent was the ruler of the Yuanlu experts. The experts from the Dragon League were completely controlled by the experts from the Yuanlu experts. Lu Ming's heart was heavy. At the same time, he also heard some other news. Over the years, many people in the Divine Wilderness Continent had speculated about the changes in the land. Some people said that the Divine Wilderness Continent must have been a prosperous land in the distant past. This could be deduced from the countless spiritual medicines and sacred medicines that emerged from the depths of the earth. In the distant past, the Divine Wilderness Continent must have been filled with spiritual medicines and sacred medicines. However, later on, for some unknown reason, this land was sealed by the 9-dragon cauldron and the 9-dragon veins. Therefore, the Divine Wilderness Continent had withered. Now that the passage had been reopened, the entire continent had recovered. Lu Ming's heart was heavy as he rushed to the central continent with Qiu Moon. Along the way, they saw many people roaming the vast mountains in search of various spiritual medicines and sacred medicines. Young master, many people are heading towards that mountain range, Qiu Moon said. Lu Ming nodded. Along the way, they noticed that many people were flying in the same direction. Their eyes were burning with passion. I'm afraid that an incredible treasure has appeared in that place. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming's interest was piqued. Then he flew in that direction with Qiu Moon. Soon they arrived in front of a vast mountain range. Roar. From time to time, the roars of beasts could be heard from the mountains. Demonic beasts as large as mountains roamed freely, fighting with human martial artists. This mountain range is really impressive. There are sacred medicines everywhere. Lu Ming's eyes were like stars. He could see a large territory and the entire mountain range. Standing high in the sky, the large mountain range was reflected in his eyes. He discovered that the mountain range was rich in origin qi. Spiritual medicines and sacred medicines were everywhere. There were even more sacred medicines and spiritual medicines than the ancient moon's sacred ground. Lu Ming could not help but think that the Divine Wilderness Continent might have been prosperous in the distant past. Deep underground, there were seeds of sacred medicines that had not decayed for thousands of years. Now that the origin qi was rich, they had taken root and sprouted. Otherwise, no matter how rich the origin qi was, it was impossible for so many spiritual medicines and sacred medicines to grow in less than 10 years. Similarly, there were countless powerful demonic beasts living in this vast mountain range. Young master, shall we collect some sacred medicines too? Qiu Moon asked. Sure. Lu Ming nodded. Although Lu Ming had a lot of resources in his hands, no one would complain about having more panacea. Although they would not be able to use these panacea, his parents and others would definitely be able to use them in the future. The two rushed into the forest and saw a ginseng that was as thick as an arm. It was golden and fragrant. This was a sacred medicine. It was useful even for martial sages. However, this ginseng was guarded by a demonic beast. Roar. A giant wolf with the strength of a second-layer martial royal realm lunged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved his hand, and a strong force shot out, killing the giant wolf. Then he put away the golden ginseng. After that, Qiu Moon and Lu Ming traveled through the forest to collect sacred medicines. They were too lazy to collect ordinary sacred medicines. In a valley, Lu Ming casually killed a giant snake with the strength of a first-layer martial royal realm, and collected a sacred medicine. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. It would be strange if the cultivation of the people of the Divine Wilderness Continent did not soar during this period of time. There were too many sacred medicines. Chapter 2167. There were so many sacred herbs here that even those from the ancient moon's sacred land would be envious of them. Of course, it was impossible to improve one's cultivation just by consuming the herbs. One still needed to comprehend them. However, it was still much faster than before. Whoosh! Whoosh! At that moment, a few figures appeared above the valley. There were 4 of them. An old man, 2 middle-aged men, and a middle-aged woman. The four of them glanced at the corpse of the giant snake in the valley and were surprised. The two of you, were you the ones who killed this giant snake? The old man asked. He was obviously the leader of the four. That's right. Lu Ming nodded. You two are quite young, but you managed to kill a first-layer martial royal realm giant snake. Are you here for the Holy Spirit fruit too? The old man asked. Holy Spirit fruit? Lu Ming was confused, but he did not show it on his face. He asked, Are you here too? That's right. We've received news that there's a Holy Spirit fruit tree on Wuyuan Mountain that's about to mature. A single Holy Spirit fruit is enough to give birth to a martial saint expert. Many treasure hunting groups have come here to compete for the Holy Spirit fruit. The old man said, A single Holy Spirit fruit can give birth to a martial saint? Lu Ming was shocked. He had read many books in the Great Elixir Evolution Palace, but he had never heard of a fruit like the Holy Spirit fruit, not to mention the fact that it could give birth to a martial saint. It seemed like the divine wilderness continent had indeed given birth to some amazing things. Lu Ming's interest grew. Are you two willing to join us? The more people we have, the better. We can take care of each other on the way. The old man asked again. Sure. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and nodded. Xiaoyu was completely at Lu Ming's beck and call. She would follow whatever Lu Ming did. The old man and the others were overjoyed. Lu Ming and Xiaoyu were able to move around in the mountains and kill a first-layer martial royal realm giant snake, which meant that they were quite strong. If they joined them, their strength would increase too. Lu Ming wanted to join them mainly because he wanted to take a look at the Holy Spirit fruit. It would be nice if he could pick a few and give them to his parents. Then the two sides introduced themselves to each other. Lu Ming knew that the old man's name was Han Zhong. The four of them were a treasure-seeking group. Ever since the anomaly of the divine wilderness continent, all sorts of spirit herbs and sacred herbs began to recover. Many treasure-seeking groups had appeared. As the name implied, these people roamed the various famous mountains and great rivers in search of various spirit medicines and saint medicines to exchange for various cultivation resources. This time, many treasure hunting groups came to Mount Wuyuan. After the introductions, the group continued on their journey. The old man headed deeper into the mountain range. As he walked, he searched for spirit herbs and saint herbs. What a strong medicinal fragrance! Suddenly, Han Zhong's expression changed. Lu Ming and Xiaoyu also smelled the rich medicinal fragrance coming from the front. Everyone hurriedly moved forward and immediately saw a small patch of sparkling purple grass. Redbud orchid. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he recognized this grass. The redbud orchid was a low-level sacred medicine. To Bright Saint Realm martial artists, it was quite useful. There were a total of 7 of them. Han Zhong's eyes lit up. 7 sacred medicines appeared at once, and they were very valuable. However, it was not that easy to obtain them. Hiss hiss hiss. Hiss hiss could be heard from the ground as purple threads slithered around. They were small snakes the size of chopsticks, and their bodies were sparkling. Lu Ming glanced at them and saw 11 of them. Whoosh, whoosh. The 11 small snakes shot towards the group. Attack! Han Zhong roared and attacked together with the others, attacking the 11 little snakes. The 11 small snakes had high cultivation levels. They were all martial emperors. The strongest one was a LV3 martial emperor, the same as Han Zhong. Was this still the divine wilderness continent? Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He had an illusion that he was in the Yuanlu continent. Back in the day, a LV1 martial emperor was an overlord in the divine wilderness continent. They could establish an overlord force and dominate a region. A LV2 martial emperor was almost invincible in the world. A LV3 martial emperor was legendary. Xiao Wan was a LV3 martial emperor when he was at his peak. However, there was a nest of snakes in the mountain, and they were all martial emperors. The strongest one was a LV3 martial emperor. It made Lu Ming feel as though time and space were in a mess. It was as though he was still in Yuanlu. Clang! Clang! Han Zhong and the others fought against the 11 small purple snakes. Han Zhong fought against the LV3 martial emperor snake alone, while the others fought against the other small snakes. Lu Ming and Autumn Moon also attacked. Of course, they did not use their full strength. They only used a part of their strength. Puff! Puff! Lu Ming and Autumn Moon killed 2 small snakes in a row. This surprised the others. Autumn Moon and Lu Ming's combat strength was stronger than they had imagined. Kill! The 2 burly men and the middle-aged woman unleashed their full strength and used various killing moves. They finally suppressed the small snakes and killed them. Their cultivation level is high, but their combat strength is not high. Lu Ming shook his head inwardly. He realized that although these people's cultivation level had reached the martial emperor realm, their combat strength was much weaker than those in the Yuanlu continent. The 5th layer martial dominator let out a roar. He knew that he had stumbled into a terrifying expert. If he did not leave now, he would die. He immediately let go of the saber and fled from the scene. It's too late to back off now, Lu Ming calmly said as he pinched the saber with his fingers. Clank! The battle saber directly shattered into 6 pieces and shot out explosively. Each piece was aimed at one of the opponents. Puff! 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 Blood splattered everywhere. The 6 experts, whether they were in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th LV, were all pierced through by the fragments of the saber and died on the spot. Han Zhong, the 2 bulky men, and the middle-aged woman stared at the scene with their eyes open wide. Among the 6 cultivators, even the weakest one was on par with Han Zhong, but he had just been killed by Lu Ming in an instant. Lu Ming did not even move from his spot. They could feel a chill running down their spines as they realized that they had stumbled into a terrifying genius. What was Lu Ming's cultivation? 7th layer martial dominator realm, 8th layer martial dominator realm, or even higher. It took them quite a while to collect their thoughts. Lu Ming, it's my fault. Please forgive me. One of the bulky men in particular apologized to Lu Ming with a reddened face. Previously, he had mocked Lu Ming for being too full of himself, as he was not willing to join them. However, he now realized that Lu Ming was not being full of himself. It was obvious that he had the strength to back it up, and that he was not interested in them at all. Their strength was not helpful to Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming smiled faintly, not bothered at all. He waved his hand and collected the storage rings of the 6 cultivators, before saying, "Let's go to Wuyuan Mountain." The group continued their journey toward Wuyuan Mountain. However, Han Zhong and his crew's attitude toward Lu Ming and Qiu Moon underwent a great change, as they were now extremely respectful toward them. After passing through a few mountain ranges, a giant mountain appeared before them, piercing through the clouds. Chapter 2172. Voices entered Lu Ming's ears one after another. It's really a great era now. The world has changed, precious herbs are everywhere, and experts are emerging in large numbers. My cultivation can also break through to the martial emperor realm. An old man with snow-white hair sighed with a complicated expression. Originally, with his talent, he could only break through to the spirit god realm, and didn't have much lifespan left. However, when he was about to die, the world had changed and everything had recovered. His cultivation had also advanced by leaps and bounds. He had even broken through to the martial emperor realm not long ago, and his lifespan had increased greatly. How could he not sigh? The world was now rich in origin qi. Not only had the cultivation speed increased greatly, but there were also some sacred fruits that could transform one's bloodline and achieve evolution. It could be said to be terrifying. However, there were only a few of those sacred herbs. Still, many people had obtained them, and their talents had increased greatly. Yeah, the cultivation environment now is too good. It was unimaginable in the past. Didn't you see that even the experts of Yuanlu have come to occupy the territory? Speaking of which, there's a big event that will start soon. It's about the 3 major forces of Yuanlu. I heard that the 3 major forces of Yuanlu will have a battle in 3 months to redivide the territory. Is there such a thing? Many people in the restaurant were shocked. I heard it through the grapevine. It's probably going to be made public soon. There's no doubt that the Eastern Wilderness has the best environment. Many people are coveting it. Now it's occupied by the Divine Bull Palace. The Monarch Clan and the Barbarian Dragon Palace both want to occupy the Eastern Wilderness. There will definitely be a battle. That's right. However, The three major forces of Yuanlu seem to have similar strength. Once the battle starts, there will be heavy casualties. No, I heard that the three major forces will use a special method this time. The three major forces will send out their young geniuses to fight. Moreover, they must be the local geniuses of divine wilderness. The division of territory will be decided according to their achievements. There's actually such a thing? A battle between the local geniuses of divine wilderness? Looks like there'll be a good show in 3 months. Many people in the restaurant were interested and gathered around the person who knew the grapevine. Being surrounded by so many people, that person enjoyed it very much. He rattled on and on, talking a bunch more. That person said that the battle in 3 months would most likely be held in the former headquarters of the Dragon Alliance, the Dragon Emperor City. Currently, the Dragon Emperor City was occupied by Indra. I wonder about Dad and Mom. Are they in Dragon Emperor City? A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. They were furious that Lu Ming had been humiliated. Who are you? The skinny young man asked with a cold smile. Zhuang Xiaoshan. Zhuang Xiaoro. The two of them reported their names. So it's you, the two disciples of the legendary Lu Ming. Hee, what's the matter? Are you trying to avenge your master? However, I'm telling the truth. Your master might have been good in the past, but now, he's just average. How can he be compared to the current top 10 elites? The skinny young man sneered, and his voice was filled with mockery. Before the world changed, my master came from a remote place in the eastern wilderness. He went against the flow and fought against the heroes of the world. In the end, he defeated all the overlords of the divine region and created the Dragon Alliance. Such a battle record has never been seen before. Who can compare to him? The so-called 10 great prodigies are merely relying on the good environment and the guidance of Yuanlu's experts to have some achievements. Compared to my master, they are nothing. Zhuang Xiaoshan said loudly. How dare you? The skinny young man shouted, and his body emitted a cold, murderous intent. Kneel down and slap your own mouth. Take back what you just said. Hee, I'm just telling the truth. If my master hadn't left, there wouldn't be any top 10 elites. When my master was still around, Ren Qianqing was nothing. He didn't even have the right to meet my master. Zhuang Xiaoshan sneered and stood straight. He was not afraid of the skinny young man. You really know how to flatter yourself. Today, I, Li Ku, will have a taste of the skills of the Dragon Alliance leader's disciple. The skinny young man's face turned colder, and his murderous intent flashed. His cold aura caused the temperature in the restaurant to drop rapidly. What? He's Li Ku, one of the top 10 elites. After the skinny young man said his name, someone exclaimed. This skinny young man was one of the top 10 elites. No wonder he was furious when Zhuang Xiaoshan said that the top 10 elites were not as good as Lu Ming. I heard that Li Ku is Ren Qianqing's loyal supporter and has a good relationship with him. Someone said softly. Chapter 2176. When he was in Yuanlu, Lu Ming had killed many strong enemies, especially in the ancient Moon Sacred Ground, where he had destroyed the Feng clan and 5 other powerful forces. Each of these forces had been around for countless years, and they had a lot of resources. Lu Ming had obtained a lot of resources. Elixirs, treasures, sacred weapons, emperor weapons, divine powers, and many more. There were various kinds of mystical abilities of laws inside. Lu Ming found a mystical ability that was suitable for the fatty, and passed it to him. Fatty was overjoyed and took it happily. Then, Lu Ming took out an axe, which was a great sacred weapon, and gave it to Fatty. Fatty was even more overjoyed. Although the world had changed, it was only because the origin chi was more abundant, and there were more sacred herbs and spiritual herbs, which made it easier to break through. However, divine powers and weapons were still the same as before. Many people did not have a suitable weapon after their cultivation had increased. After the fatty received it, his eyes narrowed into slits as he grinned. Then he ran off to the side and started cultivating. Zhuang Xiaoshan and Zhuang Xiaoro looked at Lu Ming eagerly. Both of you have refined a lot of sacred herbs in your bodies, but most of the medicinal effects are still in your bodies. This will be a huge hindrance to your cultivation in the future. Both of you enter the cauldron, and I will help you refine them. At the same time, it will increase the grade of your spirit bodies. Lu Ming said. The siblings were shocked. Even the grade of their spirit bodies could be increased? In the end, Zhuang Xiaoshan entered the cauldron first. Refine. Lu Ming controlled the law of alchemy and used the alchemy fire to refine Zhuang Xiaoshan's body. Now that Lu Ming's cultivation had increased, and he could control the law of alchemy, it was easier for him to control the cauldron. The effects of the cauldron were many times stronger than before. Soon, the remaining medicinal effects in Zhuang Xiaoshan's body were completely refined by the alchemy fire. Afterward, Lu Ming added in the panacea. He used the medicinal effect of the panacea to temper and raise Zhuang Xiaoshan's spirit body level. The process was very painful, but Zhuang Xiaoshan gritted his teeth and endured it. This was because he could feel that his spiritual body was constantly improving. He was originally an ordinary spirit body, but now he was improving at a crazy speed. A day later, his spiritual body was upgraded to an inferior earth spiritual body. However, it was not over yet. The improvement was still ongoing. After a few more days, his spiritual body had risen to a high-grade spiritual body. At this moment, Lu Ming released Zhuang Xiaoshan. It couldn't be too long, or it would be harmful. My spirit body. Zhuang Xiaoshan sensed carefully and realized that his spirit body's power had increased tremendously. His combat power was several times stronger than before. Xiaoro, go in. Lu Ming looked at Zhuang Xiaoro. Zhuang Xiaoro also entered the Great Evolution Pill Furnace, and Lu Ming did the same. A few days later, Zhuang Xiaoro's spirit body also rose to a high-grade spirit body. Then, he let Zhuang Xiaoshan in. After more than 20 days, the two spirit bodies rose to an inferior heaven spiritual body. Lu Ming sighed. The siblings' talent was limited. An inferior heaven spiritual body was their limit. It would be difficult for them to improve further, unless they had a heaven-defying opportunity. However, their cultivation was not over yet. This was because the Great Evolution Pill Furnace had another use. It could refine pills using the laws. It could also refine people using the laws, allowing them to comprehend the laws faster. As for Zhuang Xiaoshan and Zhuang Xiaoro, they had not reached the martial saint realm, and had only comprehended the domain. In the past, Lu Ming could not use the Great Evolution Pill Furnace. However, now that Lu Ming had comprehended the laws of alchemy, he could do it. Then, he let the siblings take turns to enter the Great Evolution Pill Furnace and channel the power of the laws of heaven and earth into the furnace. The siblings' comprehension of the domain increased by leaps and bounds. Their cultivation base also advanced by leaps and bounds. During this time, Lu Ming also let Kong Jin enter the Great Evolution Pill Furnace to refine Kong Jin's spirit body and raise its grade. Kong Jin's talent was very high. His spirit body was raised to a medium heaven spiritual body before reaching its limit. Time flew by. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. In these 3 months, Kong Jin, Zhuang Xiaoshan, and Zhuang Xiaoro's cultivation increased by leaps and bounds. Kong Jin's cultivation was at the bright saint realm, but his spirit body had reached the medium earth spiritual body. He also cultivated the divine power technique, and his strength had increased by many times. As for Zhuang Xiaoro and Zhuang Xiaoshan, their cultivation had increased from the 8th layer martial royal realm to the peak of the 1st stage half-saint realm. Together with their inferior heaven spiritual bodies, their battle strength was enough to crush a 2nd stage half-saint. They could even defeat a 3rd stage half-saint. The three of them were very confident. At that moment, the competition between the three forces of Yuanlu, in order to fight for territory, had begun. During this time, the demonic Sky Divine Emperor had gone out to investigate and had obtained a lot of information. The Monarch race, Divine Bull Palace, and Barbarian Dragon Palace would compete for territory. This time, the competition would mainly be between the local geniuses of the Divine Wilderness continent. Among them, the strongest party could occupy the Eastern Wilderness. Now the Eastern Wilderness was undoubtedly the best place. And this time, the location was the Dragon Emperor City. This news had spread all over the world. During this time, countless people had rushed to the Dragon Emperor City to participate in this grand event. Lu Ming bade farewell to Li Ping and Lu Yuntian. Then, he led Kong Jin, Zhuang Xiaoshan, and Zhuang Xiaro to the Dragon Emperor City. With Lu Ming's speed, they soon arrived at the Dragon Emperor City. The Dragon Emperor City was more majestic than before. Obviously, the Dragon Emperor City had been expanded over the years. Originally, there was a statue of Lu Ming in front of the Dragon Emperor City. However, this statue had long been torn down. The monarch race's people really deserved to die. They actually tore down Master's statue. Zhuang Xiaoshan was furious. Zhuang Xiaro and Kong Jin's eyes were also burning with anger. Lu Ming was calm and he smiled faintly. This time, he would take back the Dragon Emperor City. As for Sakura, it was time to deal with him. Around the Dragon Emperor City, countless figures flew towards the Dragon Emperor City. Lu Ming's group of 4 followed the crowd and entered the Dragon Emperor City. After entering the Dragon Emperor City, they found an inn to stay in. The battle between the 3 major forces of the Yuanlu would begin tomorrow. The 4 of them waited in the inn. At the same time, in a mansion in the depths of the Dragon Emperor City, the 2 words Hua Mansion were written on the gate of this mansion. The people living here were Hua Qi and his clansmen. Back then, due to Lu Ming, the Hua family was also considered a big family. Later on, the world changed and many Chinese people rose to prominence. Many powerhouses were born, and they had a pivotal position in the Dragon Alliance. However, similarly, when Sakura came, the Hua family was also controlled by the monarch family. There were many experts guarding the Hua Mansion. They were all from the monarch race. Now the Hua Mansion welcomed a guest. It was the #1 genius of the Divine Wilderness continent, Ren Qianxing. Ren Qianxing was Sakura's disciple. Hua Qi led a group of people to receive him in the main hall of the Hua Mansion. "Young Master Ren, I wonder what brings you to my Hua Mansion?" Hua Qi asked. "Hua Qi, you already know the answer." Chapter 2177. Ren Qianxing sat at the head of the hall, lazily playing with the jade cup in his hand. He raised his head slightly, glanced at Hua Qi, and said, "You know very well why I'm here, but I'll say it again now. I like Hua Rou, marry her to me." Hua Qi and the other members of the Hua family were startled. Ren Qianxing was indeed here for Hua Rou. Hua Rou was Hua Qi's youngest daughter. She was a famous beauty in the Dragon Emperor City. Ren Qianxing had always been pursuing Hua Rou. Ren Qianxing was a good match for Hua Rou with his talent and identity. However, Ren Qianxing was a playboy by nature. Now he had already married a wife and 3 concubines. Moreover, it was said that Ren Qianxing was only interested in something new. After playing with the concubines for a period of time, he no longer cared about them and went on to find his next target. How could Hua Qi let his daughter marry such a person? Furthermore, Ren Qianxing's master was Sakura. He had occupied the Dragon Emperor City and controlled the upper echelons of the Dragon Alliance. Therefore, he would not let his daughter marry Ren Qianxing. Furthermore, Hua Rou hated Ren Qianxing very much. "Young Master Ren, marriage is a big matter. It's related to my daughter's happiness. Rouer needs to make her own decision. We won't interfere," Hua Qi said. "Hua Qi, what do you mean?" Ren Qianxing's face turned cold. "You mean Hua Rou won't be happy with me? It would be strange if she was happy." Hua Qi and the other members of the Hua family had the same thought, but they would not say it out loud. "Young Master Ren, you've misunderstood. That's not what I meant. What I meant was that Rouer needs to make her own decision," Hua Qi explained. "Ridiculous. Since ancient times, it's always been the parents' orders and the matchmaker's words. As long as you give the order, how would Hua Rou dare to disobey? Wouldn't she still have to marry me?" Ren Qianxing's expression turned even colder as he continued. "Hua Qi, don't give me all sorts of excuses. Who do you think I am? In the future, I will definitely dominate the Divine Wilderness and even head to the Yuan continent to become an overlord. It's your daughter's fortune that I fancy her. It's her fortune that she has cultivated for several lifetimes. Do you understand? Who do you think you are? You really know how to flatter yourself. A person like you would probably be slapped to death in Yuanlu." At this moment, a voice sounded out from outside the hall, and then a young and beautiful woman walked in. The girl was 16 years old and was in her prime. She was an outstanding beauty and was Hua Qi's youngest daughter, Hua Rou. Huaro, what did you say? Do you know how much trouble you'll bring to the Hua clan? Ren Qianqing said coldly. His cold eyes moved up and down Huaro's curvaceous body, flashing with an evil light. What? Are you going to use your master to pressure us again? Huaro was very stubborn and fearless. I don't need to marry my master. I, Ren Qianqing, have an unprecedented talent. If I want to marry someone, those women who want to marry me could line up from the North City Gate of Dragon Emperor City to the South City Gate of Dragon Emperor City. Do you understand? It's your fortune that I like you. Am I clear? Ren Qianqing said confidently. Unprecedented? You really know how to flatter yourself. In my heart, only my uncle Lu Ming is unprecedented. Who do you think you are? Huaro said. Lu Ming? If he appears, I'll slap him to death. Ren Qianqing said in disdain. He then looked at Hua Qi and said, Hua Qi, do you agree or not? Since Roer doesn't agree, please forgive me. I can't agree. Hua Qi said firmly. Good, very good. Since that's the case, I will take first place in tomorrow's competition. At that time, I will ask my master to grant me a marriage. Even if you don't agree, you have to agree. Ren Qianqing fiercely left behind these words, flicking his sleeves and leaving. Hua Qi, Huaro and the others' faces changed. If Di Shirtian personally granted them a marriage, what should they do? If they rejected Di Shirtian, the Hua family would be annihilated. That despicable man, Huaro said with hatred as tears flowed down her cheeks. Roer, don't worry. Even if I die, I won't let you marry him. Hua Qi gritted his teeth. Everyone in the Hua family was worried. Time flew by, and a day passed by. Early the next morning, Lu Ming and the other three headed to the center of the Dragon Emperor City. In the center of the Dragon Emperor City, there was a huge square that was already crowded with people. Around the square, there were some banquets prepared. Of course, only those with status could take a seat. Ordinary people weren't qualified at all. The emperor race is here. Suddenly someone shouted, Whoosh! Whoosh! From the depths of the Dragon Emperor City, rays of light flew over. The person in the lead was wearing an emperor's robe. He looked to be in his 40s with a jade crown on his head. He looked like an ancient emperor who had revived, filled with endless majesty. Di Shirtian. Needless to say, Lu Ming knew that this person was Di Shirtian. Beside Di Shirtian, there were some people. A few of them were abnormally tall and sturdy. They were covered in thick iron armor, and their bodies were covered in black light. Evil God tribe. Lu Ming squinted his eyes slightly. These people were all from the evil God tribe, and one of them had reached the martial emperor realm. Beside him, there were a few young men. That is Ren Qianqing, the #1 genius of the divine wilderness. Ren Qianqing's talent is amazing. Some people say that he is more talented than Lu Ming in the past, and is the #1 in history. Not necessarily. Around them, a group of people discussed. Zhuang Xiao and Zhuang Xiaoshan were indignant. Bright Saint Realm. Lu Ming looked at one of the young men. This person's cultivation had reached the Bright Saint Realm, and he should be Ren Qianqing. Beside Ren Qianqing, there was another young man. It was Li Ku. Di Shirtian, and the others landed at the highest position and sat down. Moo moo. At this moment, a bull's roar shook the sky. In the distance, a group of divine bulls the size of a mountain stepped on the void, causing the sky to rumble. When they got closer, these divine bulls turned into tall and sturdy men. The people of the Divine Bull Palace had arrived. The people of the Divine Bull Palace also brought a few young men, and they landed on the east seat. Immediately, the roar of beasts resounded. Ferocious beasts pulled chariots, and a few chariots flew over. The people of the Barbarian Dragon Palace had arrived. Similarly, the Barbarian Dragon Palace also brought a few young men. The three major forces of the Yuan continent had arrived. The leaders of the three forces looked at each other in the air, and a terrifying aura spread out. An invisible pressure spread out. Everyone present felt as if they were facing several ancient universes. The suffocating pressure almost made them kneel down. Lu Ming released a wisp of aura that enveloped Fatty, Zhuang Xiaoshan and Zhuang Xiao. The pressure on them lessened, and they let out a long breath. Third Martial Emperor Realm? Lu Ming muttered. The leaders of the three forces faced each other, and their auras spread out. Others could not see their cultivation, but Lu Ming could. Chapter 2178. Sakura, the Divine Bull Palace Master, and the Barbarian Dragon Palace Master faced each other. Their auras filled the air, as they revealed their rank 3 martial emperors. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled into a smile. He did not take a level 3 martial emperor seriously. You two want to take over the Eastern Wilderness? No way. The Divine Bull Palace Master was a purple-haired middle-aged man. He smiled coldly. The Divine Bull Palace was the first force to come to the Eastern Wilderness. Therefore, they occupied the place with the densest origin chi. The Monarch tribe, and the Barbarian Dragon Palace Master, had always wanted to take over the Eastern Wilderness, but they had never succeeded. This time, the Monarch tribe, and the Barbarian Dragon Palace Master, had joined forces to put pressure on the Divine Bull Palace. Where did the Divine Bull Palace and the Barbarian Dragon Palace Master come from? Lu Ming frowned and pondered. These two forces definitely did not come from the Tsang state. They must have come to the Divine Wilderness through other means. You'll know after the competition. Don't go back on your word. Sakura smiled faintly. My Divine Bull Palace won't go back on our word. Tell me, how are we going to compete this time? The Divine Bull Palace Master asked. How are we going to compete? We've already agreed that there's no need for you and me to fight. Both sides will send out their local geniuses to compete. How about this? Each side will send out 3 geniuses to compete in the group battle and individual battle. Sakura said. Alright, it's decided then. I agree. The Divine Bull Palace Master and the Barbarian Dragon Palace Master nodded in agreement. Not long after, a battle stage rose in the middle of the square. 3 young men from each of the 3 forces rushed into the stage. Ren Qianxing, Ren Qianxing, Ren Qianxing. The Monarch tribe naturally sent out Ren Qianxing. As soon as he stepped into the battle stage, many people shouted, including some ignorant girls. Ren Qianxing did look like a decent man. Many ignorant girls did not know how to differentiate between good and evil. They mindlessly idolized Ren Qianxing. Ren Qianxing stood with his hands behind his back, looking like a peerless expert. What a show-off. I can't wait to step on his face. Kong Jin said unhappily. You'll have the chance. Lu Ming smiled. I'm mainly annoyed by those brainless girls. Ren Qianxing doesn't have anything he wants. How can he be compared to me? Those girls really don't have eyes. Kong Jin pursed his lips. Lu Ming was speechless. Brother Neo, why don't we join forces? That Ren Qianxing is not easy to deal with. The Barbarian Dragon Palace Master secretly sent a message to the Divine Bull Palace Master. The eyes of the Master of the Divine Bull Palace flashed as he said, All right, then let's join forces first and defeat the people of the Emperor clan. Then we'll decide who's better. All right, that's what I meant. The Barbaric Dragon Palace Master nodded. Soon after, the Barbarian Dragon Hall Master and Divine Bull Palace Master sent voice transmissions to their respective supreme geniuses. At this moment, the 3 groups of geniuses were facing each other in the fighting ring. Around them, many people were watching nervously. From the discussions of the surrounding people, they knew that the 9 youths on the battle stage were 9 of the top 10 geniuses of the Divine Wilderness continent. Each of them had a very high cultivation level. On the Emperor clan's side, Ren Qianxing and Li Ku were both there. At this moment, the Divine Bull Palace and Barbarian Dragon Palace's supreme geniuses looked at each other and suddenly moved. 6 youths from both sides suddenly rushed towards the Emperor clan's supreme geniuses from 2 different directions. Damn it, they want to join forces to deal with us first. Li Ku roared loudly. You're despicable. Another supreme genius from the Emperor clan also roared loudly. However, the supreme geniuses from both sides were extremely fast. In an instant they closed in and attacked them. Li Ku and another supreme genius roared and charged forward. However, Ren Qianxing still had his hands behind his back, not moving at all. Boom! Boom! 2 explosions rang out. How could Li Ku and the other youth block the other party? They were directly blasted back, blood flowing out of their mouths. The 6 youths from the Divine Bull Palace and Barbarian Dragon Palace surrounded Ren Qianxing. Ren Qianxing, admit defeat. One of the Divine Bull Palace's supreme geniuses said. This person was ranked second among the top 10 supreme geniuses and had a cultivation level of 3rd stage half-saint. Admit defeat? What a joke. You want to defeat me with trash like you? Ren Qianxing said indifferently. Boasting shamelessly. Then I'll have you get lost now. The supreme genius roared. The 6 supreme geniuses all released their powerful auras. They were all half-saints, and the weakest among them was a 2nd stage half-saint. Boom. However, at this moment, a terrifying aura erupted from Ren Qianxing's body. Vast sage aura spread out in all directions. At this moment, Ren Qianxing's cultivation level of the bright sage realm was revealed. Sage realm. You've broken through to the sage realm. You've actually broken through to the sage realm. The 6 supreme geniuses from the 2 major forces roared in disbelief. This guy has actually broken through to the sage realm. Zhuang Xiao and Zhuang Xiao were also a little surprised. The sage realm was a hurdle that was difficult to cross. For example, if Fatty Kong Jin did not have Lu Ming's help, it would probably take a long time for him to cross the sage realm. At this moment, the surrounding crowd was also in an uproar. They were shocked by Ren Qianxing's cultivation level. Those ignorant young girls were even more agitated as they screamed and screamed. Now you're the ones who have lost. Ren Qianxing roared as rays of sword light bloomed from his hand. His master was Sakura, so naturally, he had also cultivated divine powers that were extremely powerful. Bam! Bam! The supreme geniuses from the 2 major forces could not resist at all. They were directly sent flying by the sword light and fell to the ground, vomiting blood. A sage-to-be was no match for a sage realm cultivator. The supreme geniuses from the 2 major forces had been defeated in an instant. There was no suspense in the competition. Damn it! The Sacred Bull Palace master roared, his face gloomy. The crowd was also in an uproar as countless people cheered for Ren Qianxing. Too powerful, really too powerful. Ren Qianxing has reached the sage realm at such a young age. This is defying the heavens. Isn't that so? No wonder he's the top supreme genius of the divine wilderness. This is rare since ancient times. Someone actually put Lu Ming and Ren Qianxing on the same level. In my opinion, Lu Ming and Ren Qianxing are not even on the same level. Lu Ming is far from being comparable. Not bad, not bad. A series of discussions could be heard all around the square. Damn it, what do these people know? How do they know how powerful Master is? That's right, a bunch of ignorant people. Zhuang Xiaoshan and Zhuang Xiao were very unhappy. These people actually said that Lu Ming was far from being comparable to Ren Qianxing. It was ridiculous. They knew how powerful Lu Ming was. In just 3 months, he was able to make their strength soar. They did not know how many times stronger he was than Ren Qianxing. Lu Ming smiled slightly and did not care. With his current cultivation level, why would he care about these people's discussions? Many people sighed. They reckoned that in this competition, there was already no suspense. The emperor clans were definitely going to win. Sakura was full of smiles. In order to help Ren Qianxing break through to the sage realm, he had paid a great price. But it was all worth it. The cultivation environment in the eastern wilderness was too good. As long as he occupied the eastern wilderness, he planned to move the entire D family over and make it their base camp. The D family would definitely continue to grow stronger and rise. Chapter 2179. As expected, the individual battles became Ren Qianxing's show. He defeated everyone in his way, and no one was a match for him. He won the 1st place without exception. Meanwhile, Li Ku won the 8th place. Although the other 2 from the monarch race didn't have good results, Ren Qianxing's ranking meant that the monarch race's points were still the highest. The entire monarch race laughed their heads off. Those from the Divine Bull Palace and the Barbarian Dragon Palace looked gloomy. This battle had pushed Ren Qianxing's reputation to the top. Many people even said that Ren Qianxing was a prodigy that had never appeared in the Divine Desolate region. They said that Lu Ming wasn't even worthy of carrying Ren Qianxing's shoes. Zhuang Xiaoshan and the others gritted their teeth. Ren Qianxing stood on the fighting stage with his hands behind his back, enjoying the envious gazes of many people. There was a smug smile on his face. He was enjoying himself immensely, and his entire being was floating. He felt as if he was invincible since ancient times. After a long time, he restrained his thoughts and cupped his fists towards Sakura as he said, Master, disciple has a matter to request of Master today. I hope that Master will grant my wish. Haha, Qianxing, you have won the first place today. Tell me what you want. Treat it as a reward from me. Sakura laughed out loud. Thank you, Master. I would like to ask you to marry Huarou, the daughter of Hua Qi, to me. Ren Qianxing said. Hua Qi. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Ren Qianxing wanted to marry Hua Qi's daughter. He had left the divine desolate region for more than 10 years, and Hua Qi already had a few children before he left. Lu Ming remembered that Hua Qi did have a daughter called Huarou. Could it be that Huarou and Ren Qianxing were in love? Lu Ming frowned. He was about to take action, but he held himself back and wanted to see what was going on. Oh, that's it. I'll call Hua Qi and the other members of the Dragon Alliance and ask them to get ready to move to the eastern desolate region with me. Sakura nodded and then asked someone to pass the message. Not long after, a group of people flew over. Hua Qi Xiaowan, Senior Zhuyang Brother Yin. At a glance, Lu Ming saw a familiar face in the crowd. Hua Qi Xiaowan, Xia Zhuyang, Yin Kuangtu, etc. were all high-ranking members of the Dragon Alliance. Of course, there was also Hua Qi's daughter Huarou. Hua Qi's face was somewhat ugly. He had a bad premonition. When he came here and heard that Ren Qianxing had already broken through to the Saint Realm, and even obtained first place, his heart sank. Hua Qi, today, Qianxing told me that he is interested in your daughter Huarou. I will bestow your daughter Huarou to Qianxing. Today they will get married. It can be considered a double blessing. What do you say? Sakura asked smilingly. No, I won't agree. A crisp voice rang out. It was Huarou. Hua Qi said with an unpleasant expression. Senior Martial Emperor, my daughter Huarou is still young. She doesn't want to get married. I hope Senior Martial Emperor will take back the order. What do you mean? Ren Qianxing's face darkened as he stared at Hua Qi and Huarou. I, Ren Qianxing, have the greatest talent since the ancient times. Could it be that I'm not worthy of Huarou? Don't be ignorant of your good fortune. The number one talent since ancient times, how shameless. Huarou went all out and scolded. Sakura's face also turned gloomy as he said, I called you guys over, not to ask for your opinions, but to inform you that I have personally spoken. No one can refuse. You guys go and prepare. We'll get married in a while. Hua Qi and Huarou's faces turned pale. Ren Qianxing, on the other hand, wore a smug expression. Senior Martial Emperor, marriage is a big deal. I'm afraid it's not good for you to force a marriage. Xiaowan stepped forward and cupped his fists. That's right. I hope Senior Martial Emperor will take back the order. Following this, Xia Zhuyang, Yin Kuangtu, and the others also stepped forward and spoke. Who do you think you are? Since my master has already spoken, there's no reason for him to take it back. Are you going to disobey him? Ren Qianxing scolded. Around them, everyone just watched. No one said a word. Xiaowan, Xia Zhuyang, Yin Kuangtu, Hua Qi, and the others wore unpleasant expressions. Unfortunately, the monarch tribe was too strong. If they resisted, they would probably be crushed to death by Sakura. There was no hope at all. No, I won't marry him. I won't marry him even if I die. Huarou shouted stubbornly. You have to marry him even if you don't want to. If you die, your family will be buried with you. Have you thought it through? Ren Qianxing transmitted his voice to Huarou. His voice was cold. Huarou's delicate body trembled. A look of despair flashed across her face as tears streamed down her face. Fatty Xiaoshan Xiao, it's your turn. At this moment, Lu Ming said to Fatty and the others. Haha, it's finally my turn. I can't hold it in any longer. Fatty laughed loudly. He carried his battle axe and rushed out. Zhuang Xiaoshan and Zhuang Xiao followed Fatty and rushed out. Ren Qianxing, who do you think you are? Huarou is an outstanding beauty. How can you be worthy of her? Why don't you look at yourself in the mirror? A loud roar resounded throughout the entire place. Ren Qianxing's face instantly darkened. He shouted, Who is it? Come out. Your grandfather. Fatty carried his battle axe and walked out. Beside him followed Zhuang Xiaoshan and Zhuang Xiao. Hua Qi, Huarou, Xiaowan, and the others also saw Fatty and Zhuang Xiaoshan. Fatty Xiaoshan Xiao, why are you here? This has nothing to do with you. Leave now. Huaqi shouted. Today's matter was a little mysterious. He didn't want to involve Fatty and the others. Haha, it's okay. We're here today to beat this sissy up. We'll leave after we're done. Fatty carried his battle axe and looked at Ren Qianxing in disdain. You guys are courting death. Ren Qianxing squeezed out a sentence from his teeth. It was extremely eerie. Courting death? You're not qualified. Also, you're not qualified to marry Huarou. Fatty said lazily. Ha ha ha, what a joke. I'm not qualified. If I'm not qualified, who in the world is qualified? My talent is unparalleled since ancient times. Who can compare to me? Ren Qianxing laughed. What a joke. You're just a piece of trash. How dare you say that your talent is unparalleled? Fatty said in disdain. What did you say? Ren Qianxing's face was incomparably gloomy. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Ever since he became Sakra's disciple, his cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. He was sought after by countless people, and many people said that his talent was unparalleled since ancient times. Now Fatty actually said that he was trash. Instantly, he had sentenced Fatty to death in his heart. Saying that he was trash was unforgivable. Are you deaf? I said that you're trash. Unless you can defeat me, only then will you be qualified to be with Huarou. Do you understand? Fatty said indifferently. These words made many people speechless. This Fatty wanted to challenge Ren Qianxing? Who is this Fatty? Why is he so arrogant? I recognize him. He seems to be Lu Ming's friend. He's not even 50 years old. He can be considered as someone from the younger generation. Chapter 2180. Discussions broke out around the square. Huaqi, Xiaojuyang and the rest had an ugly look on their faces. They didn't understand why Fatty and the rest were here. There was no benefit in provoking Ren Qianxing like this. Instead, they would get themselves into trouble. Also, Fatty actually challenged Ren Qianxing. It was impossible for him to be Ren Qianxing's opponent. They knew about Fatty's cultivation. He wasn't a saint yet. Moreover, even if Fatty became a saint, he wouldn't be Ren Qianxing's opponent. Ren Qianxing was Sakra's disciple and could cultivate divine arts. Divine arts didn't exist in the divine wilderness continent. If they were at the same level, they wouldn't be Ren Qianxing's opponent. Fatty Xiaoshan Xiao, you guys leave. Huaqi roared. Zhuang Xiaoshan and Zhuang Xiao were Lu Ming's disciples. If something happened to them because of him, how could he explain it to Lu Ming? Leave. Today, none of them can leave. Ren Qianxing's voice was cold. Killing intent flashed in his eyes as a powerful aura spread out from his body. Fatty actually dared to provoke him. He must kill Fatty today, and let everyone know that his dignity couldn't be offended. No matter. I'll beat this guy up and let everyone know that he's a piece of trash. Then I'll leave. The Fatty grinned at Huaqi previously. Lu Ming had told him to just attack. There was no need to worry about the Sakra and the other powerful figures. Therefore, Fatty wasn't afraid at all. Huaqi, Xiaojuyang and the rest were dumbfounded. They didn't understand why Fatty, Zhuang Xiaoshan, and Zhuang Xiao were so confident today. Were they crazy? Even the spectators felt that Fatty and the rest were crazy. They were going to die today. Courting death. Ren Qianxing took a step forward. His killing intent was even stronger. Young Master Ren. There's no need for young Master Ren to deal with these trash. Wouldn't it dirty your hands? Let me do it for you. At this moment, Li Ke stepped forward and took the opportunity to flatter Ren Qianxing. This flattery made Ren Qianxing feel very comfortable. He nodded and said, "That's good too. A few clowns are indeed not worthy of me taking action. You take action on my behalf. Cripple them first. I want them to regret it." Rest assured, young Master Ren. Li Ke nodded and bowed. Then, he stepped towards Fatty and the others, emitting a cold, murderous intent. "Li Ke, let me fight you." Zhuang Xiaoshan stepped out and faced Li Ke. "Zhuang Xiaoshan, you trash, how dare you fight me? 3 months ago, you couldn't even take a single blow from me. You were really courting death. That's fine. Today, I'll let everyone understand that Lu Ming's disciple is a piece of trash, and he himself is also a piece of trash. He was just bragging too much." Li Ke sneered. These words caused many people's expressions to turn ugly. There were quite a few people here. They were all members of the Dragon Alliance back then. Many of them had personally witnessed Lu Ming's heaven-defying rise to power back then. But now Li Ke said that Lu Ming was trash. Didn't that mean that they were trash too? How dare you insult my master? I'll kill you today. Zhuang Xiaoshan was enraged. His eyes were filled with killing intent. A long spear appeared in his hand, and a powerful aura burst out. The first stage of half-saint. You, how could your cultivation level increase so quickly? Li Ke screamed in disbelief. 3 months ago, Zhuang Xiaoshan's cultivation level was only at rank 8 Martial Royal Realm. How could he break through so many levels in just 3 months and reach the first stage of the half-saint realm? In the past 3 months, with the help of the Emperor tribe, he had only broken through 1 level and reached the second stage of the half-saint realm. Zhuang Xiaoshan's cultivation level was higher than his. However, he quickly came to his senses, and a ferocious look flashed across his eyes. He said arrogantly, "You must have had a fortuitous encounter and obtained some powerful sacred medicine. But so what? Your cultivation level is still too weak to withstand a single blow from the powerful medicine. I can defeat you with a single blow." So what if Zhuang Xiaoshan's cultivation level was at the first stage of the half-saint realm? He was now at the second stage of the half-saint realm. Moreover, his master was a boundary emperor of the Emperor tribe. He had taught him territorial martial techniques. He was confident that he could defeat Zhuang Xiaoshan with a single blow. Boom! A powerful aura burst out from Li Ke's body. At the same time, a combat sword appeared in his hand. Sword radiance burst out, and with the power of the precepts, he charged towards Zhuang Xiaoshan. In the divine region, those who were at the first stage of the half-saint realm and had not cultivated any territorial martial techniques would not be able to withstand a single blow from him. However, although Zhuang Xiaoshan had yet to cultivate a domain martial technique, his spiritual body had already reached the low-grade celestial spiritual body, and low-tier heaven spiritual body was considered a genius in the Yuanlu. In the past, there was not a single low-tier heaven spiritual body in the Zhangzhou state. Li Ke's spiritual body was just an ordinary spiritual body. Zhuang Xiao's spiritual body's power was enough to crush Li Ke. Boom! Zhuang Xiao waved his spear and smashed it down. This spear did not have any technique to speak of. It was just a simple spear strike. Under the infusion of true essence, the long spear rapidly grew in size. It was like a giant pillar that supported the sky as it smashed towards Li Ke. Bam! Bam! Li Ke's sword radiance collapsed under the spear. The giant spear smashed onto Li Ke's body. Li Ke's body was like a broken sandbag as he landed heavily on the fighting ring, causing it to tremble. Li Ke lay on the fighting ring and vomited blood. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He had been crushed by Zhuang Xiaoshan in a single blow. 3 months ago, Zhuang Xiaoshan was a piece of trash that could not withstand a single blow from him. Now he had been crushed in a single blow. He could not accept this. Everyone in the surroundings was a little stunned. Li Ke was one of the top 10 elites in the divine region. In other words, other than the top 10 elites, no one else was a match for Li Ke. However, he had been defeated by Zhuang Xiaoshan in a single blow. Was this Lu Ming's disciple? If his disciple was so strong, how could his master be weak? Brother Xiaoshan is so powerful, Hua Rou exclaimed. Hua Qi Xia Juyang, and the rest were stunned. They knew Zhuang Xiaoshan's cultivation and combat strength very well. They had not seen him for a while. How did he become so strong? You cheated. You cheated. There are other experts secretly helping you. Li Ke shouted crazily. He remembered the last time. Last time, someone had secretly helped Zhuang Xiaoshan. Li Ke was defeated by Zhuang Xiaoshan in a single blow. It was exactly the same as this time. No one secretly helped. The Divine Bull Palace Master said lightly. His voice reverberated throughout the area. The Divine Bull Palace had lost this time. They had lost to the Monarch tribe and had to give up the Eastern Wilderness. This made him very unhappy. Now that he saw the Monarch tribe suffer, he was naturally happy. No one doubted the Divine Bull Palace Master's words. He was a martial emperor realm expert and an expert among the martial emperors. How is this possible? Liku could not believe it. You're a piece of trash and you dare to talk about others. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.